I hope you can see me properly. So it's basically almost 3:30 in the morning and I'm actually working right now. So I'm a third year architecture student at Wits University, and I figured that I could be of use to you because I've literally been doing this for the last 2 years, and especially if you are a first year, like, I apologize that I didn't make this video earlier. I was actually contemplating on making it, but I actually screwed up. I didn't check the calendar and I didn't know when school opened. Because honestly speaking, I don't really keep up with stuff in that sort of way. I just ask people on the group chat what's going on, or ask my other friends what's going on. But anyways, if you are a matriculant or you're some high school student, or maybe you're just taking a gap year and you don't really know what to do next year, if you're considering architecture, I just want to show you a realistic day-to-day reality of what I'm doing. I'm not really working with Wits for this video or anything, but it's just a personal video of like the point of view of a student. So I would say that I'm quite experienced in this whole thing, not only because I've made it past 2 years, but also because I made it into Golden Key, which is basically some elite organization where they choose the top 15% of students or top performers in any course. And yeah, so I figured that I could actually give you some sort of valuable information or tips of how to make it through. The first thing, my name is Kongelani. A lot of people know me as Mohao around campus. So there's a few things you should know before you actually consider studying architecture. The first stupid mistake which I did was actually thinking that it's a 3-year degree, and after studying for 3 years you basically become an architect, which is so far from reality. Because in reality, you first of all need to do your bachelor's for 3 years, then afterwards your honors. Actually, after your bachelor's you need to have work experience for at least a year, then your honors, then your masters, then you need to work again for at least a year or maybe 2 years, then that's when you can write your SECAP exam. Then only after that, which takes around 7 to 8 years, that's when you can be legally called an architect. After your first 3 years of architecture and at bachelor level, you basically become known as an architectural technologist. So yeah, first of all, know what you're getting into. Like, I only found out on the 3rd day of university 2 years ago. The second thing which you should know about architecture is that it's a social degree. Like, you're gonna be interacting with people from the time you get to university all the way to when you're working in profession. Like, when you're dealing with clients, when you're dealing with people you're going to be collaborating with, like engineers or people at town council, even your lecturers. You're going to have a much more intimate relationship with your lecturers. They're actually going to know your name. You know, like in high school they always speak about your lecturers, they're not going to care about you, but here they care about you much more, because they will even know your name and they will help you with your work and your project, and will also give you feedback about stuff. Yeah, because it's a social degree, you need to be able to talk to people. Like, if you have social anxiety, that's really going to be an issue. For your own benefit, you need to befriend people and get to know people and be comfortable being around people. But you tend to learn a lot and you tend to grow as a person in this sort of interactions. It really puts you out of your comfort zone and makes you do things which you would never have expected of yourself, like presenting to the whole class. I mean, some people have stage fright, but then if you're going to be presenting your work to 60 plus people, eventually you're going to develop the courage to be able to speak to so many people, and also not knowing that you need to learn in a way to maneuver around certain situations, like speak without being prepared and actually be able to convince people of what you're trying to pitch or the sort of design which you just made. So that's the interesting part about it. And yeah, the lectures have been very interesting. I mean, at certain times I've really been annoyed about them, I'm not gonna lie, but I really admire a lot of them because they're so different. Like each of them specialize in different fields. Like some of them will be building museums, some of them will be focusing on residential complexes. Some of them are not even architects, like some of them are photographers or artists or urban designers. Like there's such a broad sense of skills and everything, and you also get taught by mathematicians or civil engineers for certain courses and modules. So you get to learn a lot from people. And as I said earlier on, you're going to have a closer relationship with your lecturers and get to know them and learn a lot from them, basically like a mentor, which is, I think, so different from the conventional university degree. I guess the another thing you should know, which was quite shocking for me, is the certain level which everyone is at, especially at an institution like Wits. It is the second best university in the whole country, not only the whole country but the whole continent. So it's the architectural school. So for me, for example, I was the best artist in high school. So I went to a prestigious all boys school. For grade 10 and 11, I was the top artist there. I got the award every year for being the top artist. And in matric, during my valedictory, I got the best artist in the school. But as soon as I arrived, especially my closer friends, they are like full blown artists who are so talented at what they do. And it literally put my work to shame. It's not only about art, but it's really about everything else. So you could have been the top student at your own school, but as soon as you arrive at an institution like Wits, don't expect to be the best. Don't expect to be as good as everyone else, because I won't lie, I felt quite insecure, especially during my first project. So I remember we had design, which is basically the main course in this whole degree. And for the first project, since it was COVID and we were working online, I had no idea what other people were doing. Then for the first crit, so crits are basically this whole thing where you present your work to your lecturer. Sometimes it will be to the whole class so we could learn from each other. And I actually saw my project was probably the worst, like at the first crit out of many crits. Of course, I got time to improve the project, but it was probably the worst because I literally took a card box. Like, we're basically making models. Some people made models out of paper, made very interesting geometric shapes, while I literally made a box, which had holes on the side. Like, my project was literally the worst, and I was so insecure. And basically just shows two things: that you won't be the best at first, and second of all, you're gonna learn a lot and you're gonna be much better than you were at the start. And I think one thing I realized from that experience is that you can actually do much more than you think. And you shouldn't start off easy. Like, you should be creative, like from the start, from the get-go. Like, actually do your best and actually push yourself, because you're much more capable than you think. Like, I was honestly bad on models in high school, because sometimes you have those projects where they tell you to design a house in high school, and I was so bad at it because I'm not normally underneath and making models. Like, the glue just messes all over the place and everything. And not only that, but I couldn't actually keep a model together, and I didn't think I was going to be able to make a proper model, but I somehow managed to do so. Yeah, so you basically learn a lot from doing those sort of things. You actually become much more capable. Yeah, so just to wrap it up, so you may have been the top dog, but when you get here in architecture, or mainly in any other degree, especially at such a university, you might be at the bottom of the barrel. So I'm not saying this to put you down or anything, but it's more in a sense to humble you. And I also want you to realize that there's a lot that you can learn. That even if you're the best student in first year, you practically don't know anything, because you're going to be in an environment where you have lecturers and professors and architects who have been busy with their trade for maybe even up to 20 years. Like, we even had guest lecturers who are quite influential and who have worked overseas, who have worked with some of the best architects in the world, who have worked in some of the biggest buildings in the world, and you can learn a lot from them. So you shouldn't be discouraged if you don't know much or if you're at the bottom of what you do.